Hello, and welcome to the LoadDown podcast. Josh Jones, who'll be known to many of you as Red Josh on the Download forums, and also Josh in the Red on Instagram. And the reason we're asked, Josh volunteered his services this afternoon was to give us a bit of an introduction to Sleep Token. There's obviously, Josh, there's been a bit of mixed reactions. Do you think is fair?
Yeah,
But
I think it's definitely been mixed reactions, hasn't there, to them being announced. I think it's been noticeably, I suppose, a bit more positive as people have maybe given them a bit of a go and a bit of a chance. But I still think it's, in terms of mixed headliner reactions, the most mixed in a long, long time. I think obviously Fall Out Boy got a mixed reaction last year, and Bring Me got a bit of a mixed reaction.
yeah,
Not too much in 2023. Um, but I think it's noticeably different because I think they're bands whose names have been around quite a long time, so people have picked them up in passing, even
yeah,
if they don't really know much by them. Whereas I think with Sleep Token, with them being such a young and fresh band, and it being harder to find, well, not being harder to find, it's easier to find music, but it's harder to be exposed to stuff if you're not looking for it potentially. Um, I think it's taken a lot of people by surprise.
we don't live in that time anymore, do we? In terms of like when we were teenagers, you'd have Kerrang TV on all the time, and you would just always you'd always know who was up and coming. You'd always know who were breaking the mold. Like I said it last week, I think it's the probably the most extreme reaction I remember since My Chemical Romance were announced. But even then, everyone knew who they were because you couldn't avoid them. Whereas music consumption, like you said, has changed. And if you're not looking, like you say, if you're not looking for Sleep Token, you won't find many. You won't find anyone really. So it's quite interesting in that way. But
Yeah,
I mean, to come through and headline after three albums, I think is just incredible, really. And we all said it on the forums when they announced them arena shows this year, sorry, this week even, isn't it? Um, it took a lot of people by surprise, and then how fast it sold was amazing, really. So so to introduce Josh is you're I think the closest person I know to a super fan of Sleep Token, if that's fair. So how did you get into the band?
probably. Slightly off. I suppose the first song I heard was The Offering. It's like 2019, so obviously they did that release, whereas it was every week or 2 weeks they're releasing a track from Sundowning. So that's when I first heard of them. Um, I liked that. Listened to them a bit, um, and then just kind of stayed with them, seen them live a few times, um, and then I suppose you could. There's like a big, massive change start of last year.
Yeah.
So, so me and my wife were going to see them at Birmingham Academy at the start of January 2023. So, like, as you can probably expect, we got our tickets in the O2 pre-sale.
Yeah.
Um, back in the October when they came on sale, and like even the week before the show, there were not no low ticket warnings on it. Um, then like Chokehold and the Summoning drop, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's a completely different landscape, and that's that show, which was the first of the tour, and everything else sells out within with about a week of those songs coming out. So it's quite interesting,
Yeah.
and it's seeing their live show um, evolve because like obviously their live shows before they did that headline tour were very different to that one,
Yeah.
but it's from that headline tour to where they are now is like absolutely night and day. It's so different, and it's quite weird to see it in such a short time because you see bands evolve. So
Yeah.
I've seen Bring Me and Enter Shikari when I was younger, and I've seen their live show evolve,
Yeah.
but not in
In that space of
such a
time.
short
Yeah.
space of time.
Yeah. I saw them. The first time I saw them was at the pilot event. So, um, again, they were. I like a lot of things with mystique and mystery about it, which is, I mean, uh, obviously with Vessel 2, 3, and 4 being anonymous. I always like Ghost for that reason. I find the mystique behind it quite engaging. So I went and watched them there, and it was yeah, a solid show, but it was quite if you don't know what to expect, it kind of took me by surprise in a little bit of a way because it's quite intense. Is that
Yeah,
fair?
I think that's definitely fair, and I think their live shows are really, really intense. And some of the Sleep Token fans can be like really, really loud as well. So,
Right.
it's definitely an experience, and it's really interesting to just see how it grows. But one thing I've definitely noticed is that, um, which I think is really, really good for rock and metal, is that when you go to a Sleep Token show, like when you go to like a Bring Me the Horizon show or a My Chemical Romance show, you see lots of females there as well,
Yeah.
non-binary people. It's not just like a load of men like lots of other shows, which I think is always really, really important as well,
Yeah.
because I think that's how you get that cut through and how bands generally become big.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's. I mean, I think in the last probably 8 or 9 years, we've seen download become a much more mixed crowd. I think when I
yeah,
first went 2013 and 2016 were the first two I did, and those were you're looking like 95% men. And I was saying to my friend, I was like, the split is pretty even now, and massively so compared to what it once was. And I think that can only, I mean, just as a casual festival goer, the vibe of a place is so much better when it's like that, when it's more mixed. So you're doing,
yeah.
are you doing which of the UK dates are you doing? Are you doing all of them? Or are you
So all of them but the
all of them?
last London
Right.
one. So yeah, so we going up to Scotland Monday morning, so doing Scotland, Manchester, then home for a bit, Birmingham, then down to London, Cardiff, back home, and then up to Leeds, and then back home again.
Wow.
I think we decided that it's possibly like the last chance we'll probably get to like follow them on tour
Yeah.
for a tour. So I think we decided we're just going to do it. I haven't done it with anybody else really before, other than maybe going to a couple of shows of some bands like Bring Me, for example, or Architects,
Yeah.
um, or any Shikari. So we thought, sod it, let's do it. Um, and hopefully it's going to be a great experience, because like Amsterdam was um, absolutely amazing on Tuesday, no, Monday night. So
Yeah.
that was really, really outstanding. We had a great time, like transfixed the whole time, in the hour and 40 minutes there on stage. Literally just went in the flash of an eye.
That's good because it's. I mean, if you look at the download headliners this year, you had your Fall Out Boy doing a pretty much a jukebox run of their absolute classics. Um, I think it's going to be quite a different experience for a Sleep Token, and especially if you don't know them. So if you had to say one thing to a newcomer to Sleep Token in terms of a live experience, what would it be?
I think I would say don't get too close to the front.
Right.
Watch the show and immerse yourself in it, because their light shows like really, really incredible now. It's really, really good. And I think it's really nice to see a headliner or an arena band showing that you don't need like loads of fire, loads of screens showing cool images. You don't need loads of blast cannons or mini fireworks or bangs going off.
Right.
And it's just literally the light showing then,
Right. Okay.
which I think, and the fact that they can hold your attention from that, I think is amazing. So I'd just say watch the show, watch it unfold. It's really, really good. And I think people will be mildly surprised when they see it. And I think they'll win people over as well, because I think they sound a lot heavier in even in some of their softer songs live
Yeah.
than they do on record as well.
Yeah, because there's parts of the latest album that I was in parts getting into like a rocking sort of groove into them, and then suddenly they're playing some sort of like R&B sort of sounds, and it really kind of flips you on your head. You're thinking, where's this come from? So hearing that live and hearing that dynamic, I think that's got to be good for a download headliner because you do get download headliners, and they get a lot of flack. I'll say like Def Leppard. Obviously, on the forums, they get a lot of ribbing and whatnot, but um, they've they're very one track, aren't they? Bands like that. Um,
Yeah,
some people will like that, and some people won't. But I suppose, like you say, if you're getting a real light show, atmospheric performance with these changing, audio dynamics and things, I think it could be a real surprise to a lot of people. I think.
yeah, I think so. I mean, you can't really compare them to any download headliners of the past in terms of the way that they do things.
No.
I mean, I think it'd be really hard. I think I'm assuming that they'll probably bring a new stage show as well to download.
That would be
Um,
interesting.
and I'm because it looks like that this is kind of the end of the trilogy,
Right.
um, this tour, and there will be stuff coming on um, in the future. So I think it'd be really interesting. I mean, like I mentioned it on the forums, but I think it'd be really helpful for download for Sleep Token at download to not do an era set list like Fall Out Boy did,
Yeah.
because I think even though people that are going to see him live know a lot of their discography, I think, and it's obviously quite short. I think there's definitely more people that definitely know the latest stuff and maybe two or three tracks from the first couple of albums.
Yeah.
So I think interspersing it throughout will definitely work with the pace and the flow and keeping people interested and engaged throughout it. And maybe there'll be new music by then as well. So that will help out as well.
Yeah. Because they came in with EPs first, didn't they? Did they
Yeah,
do?
so you've got one and two, which are both like three track EPs. Then you've got a couple of standalone singles, um, Jaws, The Way That You Were. Then you've got their Sundowning album, This Place Will Become Your Tomb, and then Take Me Back to Eden. They did like a cover of Hey Yeah by Outkast, which isn't very good. I don't know if you've heard it, but not a fan.
No.
Um, and they also did a cover of a Loathe track as well.
All right. Okay. Well, they're at download as well, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah. Very good band.
supposedly on the main stage. It wouldn't surprise me if they're on Sleep Tokens Day.
Ah, good. So I think we still think we're a sub headliner short, don't we? So who do you think would make a good sub headliner for Sleep Token if it is on that
I mean,
day?
I, th I think there's two that are potentially around that would do really well. One hasn't announced any European shows, and that's Bad Omens. I think there's massive crossover in fan bases,
Yeah,
and I think Bad Omens and the Sleep Token would be really really strong. And I think particularly for Sleep Token fans and Bad Omen fans, I think you'd struggle to find a better duo together.
that'd be a hell
Um,
of a day ticket seller, wouldn't it?
yeah, and I think with it being on a Saturday as well, I
Yeah,
think there'd be lots of people that are like 14, 15, 16, 17 go along with their parents for the first time to see on a day ticket like Sleep Token and Bad Omens. I think it would be a great choice by the
that's
festival.
a really good. That's
Um,
an interesting point actually, because I think when everyone heard Sleep Token, we just naturally you put the newer headliners, you think, oh, stick them on the Friday, but that would be in a school day, wouldn't it? So if you got
yeah.
it on a Saturday, that could really work. That's really interesting.
So I think that's one thing you could that's one that would really help. And I think the other one is Deftones. Now, obviously, they've got the sold out show at is it Crystal Palace Park they're playing?
Yeah,
Um, so I think Deftones would have been the other great choice. I think they've massively grown and with a young fan base in recent times. They've become really popular with young people, the same way that Limp Bizkit, Korn,
yeah. There's been a real
Linkin Park.
resurgence, hasn't there, of new metal?
So I
Was
think
that sold
they'd
out
be a
now?
fan.
The Crystal Palace
Yeah, so
show.
yeah, I think it might have sold out on the day or the day
Wow,
after. It sold out quite quickly.
that's a
Um,
big show.
Obviously they've got Weezer with them. So it's whether it's Deftones definitely closing, but it sounds like Weezer might have like an extended set there as well.
Right.
So I think it's a double header. I think that's really intrigued a lot of people.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that'd be fantastic for Sleep Token. I think their sounds sort of coalesce, and you obviously get all the stuff about sexy metal, and I think that would work together as well.
That's a it's an unusual bill, that, isn't it? Deftones and Weezer. Like
Yeah,
very different vibes. But I
yeah,
guess
definitely.
I guess we're getting into I mean, the bands we grew up in are now the nostalgia bands, aren't they? So
Oh, 100%,
yeah,
100%. I mean, like for me, like when I was a kid, it was Maiden and Metallica were the like two big like legacy metal bands
yeah.
that I wanted to see when I was 15, 16, and got to see them both in for the first time in 2006. So I saw Metallica at Download and Maiden
Ah,
on
yeah.
their own tour.
Oh, yeah. Matter of
And
Life and Death to
yeah,
with
so
Trivium, wasn't it?
yeah,
Where
it
did you go
was.
for that?
So the NEC,
Oh,
it's
right.
changed its name so many times
Yeah,
now. But yeah, no, it's the NEC, and it was I absolutely loved Trivium at the time. But that was when Matt wasn't screaming, and they
yeah,
complained of not from the Crusade. And I thought they're a band that I've gone back to absolutely loving now. But I had a period of time where I kind of fell out of love with them because of the Crusade and the way things went with that. But then I
yeah. He did
think,
like a strange sort of flat singing, didn't he? Instead of screaming, and
yeah,
it was like it was like a poor James Hetfield impression for even the heavy screaming songs. And it, I mean, I didn't mind that. I quite like a few songs off that Trivium album, but it took me probably until
Sin
probably,
and Sentence.
yeah, probably it was, yeah. When they got when they got Alex on the drums, who I think's absolutely revolutionized them, and I thought they were great at Download 2019, and really enjoyed that.
Yeah, they were fantastic at Download. They were great on their tours. 2023, so I saw them a couple of times,
Yeah,
and they were great then as well. But I obviously saw them on the Ascendancy tour back at the start, and I was like, bloody hell, these were amazing. And then it was Download 2006, and also supporting Maiden. Matt did the kind of weird half singing thing at
yeah,
both of them. That really put me off them.
yeah,
Because at the time I was like, if it's not screaming, I don't really want to know unless it's
yeah,
Avenged Sevenfold.
yeah. No, it's good. So, we'll just go on. Obviously, go back to the sleep talking thing. So, if we've got any people listening that are no idea who Sleep Talking are, what's your number one? Where do you go? What's your first thing you want them to listen to?
Oh, I think the best starting point is probably the offering because I think it starts off with in very typical Sleep Token fashion with like a bit of an electronic beat at the start of it. It kind of builds up. You've got the interaction with when people like live will start clapping their hands at the beginning of the song. So you've got that interaction. It kind of builds and gets heavier and heavier, which is what generally happens with Sleep Token tracks.
Yeah,
But it doesn't start. But some of their songs will start even more reserved and then build up and get heavier and like have some type of breakdown and proggy bits towards like the middle and end, whereas that starts off a bit heavier. So I think it's a really good starting point. I mean, I think most people would start with a summoning, but realistically, I wouldn't even think that's in like my top 20 favorite Sleep Token
no,
songs. But that's obviously a song that made them really popular, so it might be a good start. But um, yeah, it's a really good song live, but and I wouldn't skip it listening through the album. But it's not one if I was just going to like put a
no,
few tracks on that I would necessarily gravitate towards.
no. It shows his vocals off, doesn't it? It shows Vessel's singing off quite well. So, what was the story there in terms of the popularity? Was it a TikTok thing?
Yeah, so that the reprise of like the first verse at the end of the song, where it's kind of like a bit jazzy, funky, smooth, sexy, however people want to
Yeah,
term it. It was that bit on TikTok, and that sort of kind of helped them blow up
Yeah.
really. Um, and then things have just continued to go from there. I mean, I think it's like double the listens of any other song on Spotify for them.
Yeah. Well, you've got to, and the thing is, you've got to be able to back up a TikTok hit with a solid discography and a solid live show, haven't you? So you don't just blow up. You can easily blow up and just drop off the face of the earth again. So,
But I think that's one thing they've done really well, just like Ghost have as well,
yeah,
where they've managed to take the help and the momentum that they've got from it and carry it on. I
yeah.
mean, Bring Me got had the same as well, like kept with the TikTok videos about Can You Feel My Heart?
All
So
right.
I don't have TikTok myself, but I know that that blew up on TikTok as well. I think it was people doing like Trust Falls too. Can You
All
Feel
right.
My
Okay.
Heart? Um, and that kind of helped them blow up, which is why that started moving to the end of their set list and becoming a set closer for Bring Me.
It's
But
strange,
yeah,
isn't it? For us
I think
older guys, it's a strange phenomenon.
it really is weird. I don't get it. I don't have TikTok. I don't intend to get it, but it's interesting. I'd like to know what's going on, suppose, sort of. So I sort of keep up a bit where I can. But yeah, I think I mean, Sleep Token did really well to continue that trajectory, haven't they, at the end of the day?
Yeah,
And I think it is a really, really strong album, Take Me Back to Eden.
yeah,
Um, and I think this, obviously, the summoning was a key way in to their discography for people. But I think lots of people have stuck with them and have gone along on the journey after listening to some of their other stuff because they are so varied.
yeah,
I mean, you've got songs that are basically like, an auto-tuned indie pop hit all the way through to, you know, almost like black metal inspired
yeah,
tracks, and everything in between. I mean, I think if you asked me to describe them, I'd probably say it's Meshuggah mixed with a mix of Sam Smith, the guy from Bastille, and Rob from Don Broco, vocals all mixed together. I think
yeah.
that that probably is the best way to describe them.
They get a lot of comparisons, obviously, with Bastille as well, and a lot of speculation early doors on Bastille and Sleep Token being closely linked. And there is comparisons in his vocals in terms of the when he sings like a smooth sort of singing style. It's got a lot of soul to it.
Yeah, and I think his voice is awesome. It's so great. It's so great, and it holds up really, really well live as well.
Yeah,
And he does lots of there's like ad libs as well when he's singing live, so you can really tell um, that just how good and what a natural vocalist he is.
yeah,
He's really, really impressive, and they've started to add like bits of harsher bits to some of their songs live as well.
right.
Um, so like in Rain, there's a part where it's like when they're doing Rain Down on Me, and him and Four will scream it instead of singing it and stuff like that. So they've started to add bits like that. Um, and I think if someone looking through their discography and listening to it would think, oh, they're really, really varied. But I think it's like with Bring Me the Horizon. When you see them live,
Yeah,
they're a
They-
rock band or a metal band,
yeah,
and their shows catered to that, and they cater to that's what the crowd that they want to cater for. They obviously want to have the biggest crowd they can and reach people from all different directions, but it's like they're primarily a
yeah,
metal band, and their fans are primarily metal fans. They may pull some people in and act as a gateway, but that's what they are at the end of the day.
yeah. Have you seen them outdoors before?
Yeah. So we went to see them support Slipknot um, in like Festival de Nîmes. So it's literally they
All right.
have they have shows on, for about 6 weeks, 2 months in the Roman amphitheatre in Nîmes in
That's
south of
where
France.
is that where Volkerball Rammstein was filmed, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think there's quite a few bands that have recorded things there because it's such a cool environment.
yeah,
Um, honestly, I think it's in terms of the venue itself, even though just even though it's like really tight, there's not a lot of space. It just looks so beautiful. It's possibly my favorite venue I've ever been to.
Well, yeah,
There's
I've
definitely
heard of that.
ones that are, there's definitely venues that are better,
Yeah,
but just the way it looks and the way it feels and the way you're enclosed,
yeah,
it's like, yeah, it's like a really intimate stadium show is possibly the best
yeah,
way to phrase it. But yeah, it's awesome. But and they were during the day as well.
well,
Um, so it was maybe just going dusk by the time they finished. But yeah, no, they're really really good, and they definitely won over some of the Slipknot fans there that day.
well, that's
I think
good.
some were still dubious, but
So you think they're going to fare well at Download?
I think they will. I think they will. I think a lot of people were talking about Fall Out Boy last year. Are they not a metal band? Should they be at the top of Download?
Yeah,
Um, and obviously they've got a breadth of absolutely bangers for days, haven't they?
yeah,
They're another band I absolutely love, but they absolutely won people over, didn't they? Like anybody who saw that set, even
yeah,
if you don't like them, you would say they absolutely owned that stage and owned that live performance. And I
yeah,
think like Bring Me did in 2023, and I think
yeah. I was
Sleep
going to
Token are
say.
doing
Because I'm not the biggest Bring Me fan. I must admit, I do like a handful of songs. They're not a band I listen to a lot. And I went along in 2023. My sister's and her friend are big fans, so I thought I'll go along and I'll watch it. And I they finished the set, and I thought they've surely only been on about 20 minutes. They absolutely just blew me away. They were fantastic. And then obviously Fall Out Boy have done the same. And then so the door's open for Sleep Token to do the same.
Yeah, I think I think they've got a massive opportunity to cement themselves there for the next 25 years, haven't they?
Yeah,
I think they're going to take it and they're going to blow people away. Um, they're like so tight live now. Their
yeah,
live, like I said earlier, their live show's great. Vessels are absolutely amazing vocalist. The choir sound really good live and really add something to the vibe and the etherealness of their live show.
yeah.
Um, and then like two is such a good drummer as well. Guy in the
Yeah,
Machine.
yeah, I've seen a lot of even just like Instagram shorts of him drumming, and it's something else. And
Yeah,
we need them. We need Sleep Token. We need. I mean, Corn obviously have finally got their dues, but we need these younger bands coming up, and because we can't have Def Leppard, we can't have Iron Maiden, we can't have these bands. I mean, even Slipknot are on a limited. The time's running out for them now. So we need some great bands to come up, and if we don't, like Andy Coppin said, the festival will die. So
yeah. I'm like, like you touched on Ghost earlier, and
yeah,
I really hope they get the bump next year.
yeah,
Like it looks like, I mean, very much looks like they're going to get the bump, doesn't it? From things that have been said and intimated. So
yeah,
I think that they would be absolutely fantastic as well.
yeah,
Um, as a headliner. And I think you're right. We definitely need to go on. I think lots of us have been screaming that Download needs new headliners, and it's great to see that actually we're going to have lots of bump headliners over the last few years. Bring Me was a bump. Fall Out Boy was for Download. Obviously, they've done Reading and Leeds before, so Bring Me, but not in the big kind of stage and the big way that they did at Download,
yeah,
and now Sleep Token. So I think it's you've got three younger bands that can all come back and absolutely own the festival again.
yeah.
Um, you know, Green Day, remarkably, the headliner I'm least interested in this year.
Really, yeah. They're probably. I
Yeah,
mean, just because I've never seen them, so they're up there for me.
yeah,
Corn, I've seen several times, and they're obviously going to do what Corn do, which is draw a huge crowd and absolutely smash it. So I think a lot of people Sleep Token will probably have the biggest question mark, but they've also got the biggest opportunity as well. I think, which yeah,
yeah. And I think looking through how the festival's booked this year, I think they've definitely booked to try and bring Sleep Token fans along with them, or fans of current metal, which is, predominantly metalcore. So if you look at the people that they've kind of got on the bill, along with Sleep Token in terms of, Spirit Box, Dayseeker,
Yeah,
Currents, um, North Lane,
yeah,
Starset, people like that, you can definitely, and they're all on the top two stages. You
yeah,
can definitely see that they're trying to say bring those bands along. To me, it sort of feels a bit like um, 2006, the first one I went to, because we had Funeral for Friend and Bullet top two on the Sunday.
yeah,
You had Korn, Trivium Avenged under Metallica on the Saturday, Deftones under Korn on the Sunday, and you had lots of like metal bands and that I was really into at the time. People like Johnny Truant, people like Atreyu, particularly on like the first few albums. Um, Shikari, Bring Me, when they were coming through in young bands, all on the bill, and it feels very similar this year as well, which I think is really positive as well.
yeah. No, that's really good. So who else are you looking forward to this year, Josh?
Oh, me. I'm looking forward to Weezer.
Yeah.
I'm looking. I think that'll be really fun. I'm looking forward to Don Broke on the main stage as well. Um, looking forward to Spirit Box. My wife absolutely loves Spirit Box as well,
Ah, cool.
so she's made up for that. I'm looking forward to Meshuggah. Um, great band. Um, looks like they might be on the main stage as well. Looking forward to Lorna Shore. Um, really looking forward to Corn. Um, Sixth, if I could potentially see them, depends on who they're clashing with.
Yeah.
Um, I'd be really interested in seeing them again as well. They're a great band. Um, trying to think, I can't even remember who's on the lineup now,
I
other
know
than
you
some of the.
could. I still think
But
seeing McFly and Meshuggah next to each other on a poster is the like someone on the forum. I can't remember who it was on the forum said together at last.
but yeah, no, I don't know. I think it's a really strong lineup this year as well.
I do.
I
It's
mean,
so varied, and I think that's when download's great. When it's varied, your days just they're just so much fun because you're not just stood watching the same thing over and over again. You've like last year going from Busted to Queens of the Stone Age and things like that. You just have so much like different like sorts of vibes, and it picks your mood up all the time, and it's exciting. So yeah,
yeah,
I think it's a really good lineup. I think
like Friday last year was wild for me. So went and saw Polyphia on the main stage, then saw soft play on the second stage. Went and saw a bit of Callous Boys on fourth stage. Back over to see um, what you call it, Mike Patton,
oh yeah,
uh,
Mr. Bungle.
Mr. Bungle on second. Then watched High Lung, and then went and finished it with Queens of the Stone Age.
That's
I mean,
wild, isn't it?
it's like a wild run, but it was one of my favourite days at the festival I
Yeah,
can think of. And I'm really glad that Download's bringing in like bands like Fall Out Boy, hopefully bring Green Day, maybe potentially bringing back MCR as a headliner. But I'm also glad that they're like going and bringing in like some of the extremes of metal and hardcore, less so this year than they did last year. But particularly like bits of extreme metal, I think that's really important as well and good. I mean, like I've said it before, I'd love to have a day where I can go and see My Chemical Romance headline the main stage and go and see someone like Emperor on the bloody third stage on
yeah,
the same day. I think being able to do that, or have someone like a Menra in there, I think it would just be awesome. And then also, have bits of metalcore in there for you to see, bits of punk, just have that really wide variety, so it doesn't
yeah.
matter.
Well, you've got four stages. There's no reason not to have such a mix because it does. I mean, when I get me the Clash Finder up right the day before, and I see that two bands pretty much with the same demographic are clashing, you think, what are you doing there? There's
Yeah,
so many. I mean, I think we've discussed this on the forums before in terms of the Avalanche stage. Is that less required now that, the older bands are going? Do you really need not a pop punk stage, but a Kerrang Darling sort of stage when you've got Fallout Boy headline in the main stage? Do you need So do we need to go back to that being more like it was back in 2016 when you had Gojira, you had Saxon and Ghost build on that stage?
Yeah, see, I think it's a perfect stage where you could have it. So you could have like a really wild thing where you could have AFI doing one day.
Yeah,
You could have um like a classic metal band like Saxon doing it on another day, and
yeah,
then you could have something wild on the third day, like Lorna Shore or something.
yeah,
And I think that would work fantastically for download as well. Because I think, if you've got, as long as you've got three, I think three, four headliner options,
yeah,
and they're all different on each day. So I think it really improves the breadth of the festival. I'm not a big fan of like having stages for specific acts either. I think it's good to mix everything up, but what I do like having is, top three or four potentially on a stage, all being curated so they fit together. So you've got a nice run for people,
yeah. And you're
particularly
not
on the main
sprinting from
stage.
stage to stage all the time,
I
especially
think
in
it
the
really
mud.
works. Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it worked really well on the Saturday this year. I mean, I think, that run of Frank Carter into Baby Metal, into Shikari, into The Offspring for that boy is like a
Yeah,
really good mix. And people like that kind of run. I think they did it really well in 2023 as well. With the Metallica run of, like Hailstorm into Bridge into Metallica on the Thursday, and then on the for the Bring Me Day when you went, I kind of can't remember who was on before Neck Deep, but was it Hot Milk? Or
yes,
someone, but into Neck Deep, into Pendulum, into Architects, into Bring Me. Those days really run really well, and I think it's something that the fest should continue doing
yeah,
because I think it's good for um, day ticket sales, but B, I think it just makes more sense to curate stuff.
yeah. If they curate this days properly, there could be, well, like you say, if I have a day like the Friday where I'm running around like a blue ass fly, which I really enjoyed, but also a day like Saturday where I just kind of camped out. I think it's a nice mixture.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I couldn't do it. I really hope they don't have a day like that on the Sunday because running around in that mud just be impossible. I could barely lift my legs out of the mud by the end of the day. I had to
Like
keep moving during Event Sevenfold just so I didn't like sink.
oh,
Did you
yeah,
stick
I
around for
mean,
them?
yeah, I mean, they obviously got a bit of mixed reviews, didn't they? But I thought everyone was amazing.
I thought they
I
were
absolutely
excellent.
loved it.
I really like the new album though.
I,
I don't know it's had a bit of bad, well, again mixed reviews, but I thought bands are evolving and it's their art, isn't it? So
think that album's absolutely outstanding.
yeah,
I loved it. Still, I thought their whole headline set was absolutely awesome. Um, but yeah, I mean, I suppose some people just want everything to sound like self-titled or City of Evil,
yeah,
or and some people want them to just go back to sounding like Waking the Fallen, but they're not going to do that. They're like
no,
massively evolved as a band, and they've always been a bit proggy, haven't they? I mean, I think the first time I saw them um, at the old academy in Birmingham, they had like pedestals for Sinister Gates and Zaki Vengeance to go up and do guitar solos on.
yeah,
So it's like guitar. They've always been like a band of guitar solos and like virtuoso player, haven't they? So
yeah, and
makes
like
sense.
sometimes they sound a bit Metallica, sometimes they sound a bit country. They've got a lot of different sounds going on.
Yeah,
So I'll just before we finish, Josh, I was going to say, so now we've got Download 2.0 as we're all unofficially calling it. I think you've said one of your hopes for next year's Ghost. What about the other two?
Ghost, My Cam, Muse.
Muse.
But
Maiden
I'd
feel
happily
inevitable, don't they?
to be fair, I like Maiden. I'd
Yeah, I'm
happily
I'm a,
take
I'm a bit of a die-hard Maiden fan, but
I'd happily take, if it's Day of Ghost and My Chem, if it's whether it's Muse, System of a Down,
yeah,
Linkin Park, um, Iron Maiden, any of them would make me happy. I'd,
excellent.
you know, I think, yeah, either of them would be, any of those would be strong, but I think definitely the top two would be Ghost and Mike M.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. They would be excellent. So yeah, I'll just wrap up by saying thanks a lot, mate. Thanks for joining us. And like I say, I've known you in internet terms now for about the best part of 10 years, but never actually spoken to you. So it's nice to finally put a face to the name. And I'll keep an eye out
Nah,
for you at
definitely.
download.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely, no, really, really happy to do this. And like anything else you want to know about Sleep Token, even if you just want to message us, feel free to. I'm more than happy to help.
No, I appreciate it. I hope you really enjoy the UK tour, and I'll see you on the forums.
Definitely, mate. Catch you soon.
Thanks, Josh. See you, mate. Bye.
This is the LoadDown